Yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Glad everyone's here. Kind of chilly, but it's what it is. And yeah, cold, but it's good. Outside is chilly, but it's more warm up. The daylight saving time is starting, but don't forget, ahead, spring ahead. We will be getting into warm weather sometime soon. Okay, we want to just thank you for coming. Welcome here. I'm Willis Brown, President of the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association, and Anna Mason, the Vice President of the Neighborhood Association. And we have a lot of development going on in here, a lot of things happening. We're just going to bring you up to speed on. And, we'll love to hear your comments and go forward. That's what we're going to do. Go right ahead. Our Vice President's report, development in the area.
Development in the Bronzeville neighborhood, like much of the inner city, is very active. It's north, south, east, and west, and in the middle. Bronzeville neighborhood. So from Jefferson, Taylor, Leonard, Broad Street, East Broad Street, we have development. So with this development, a lot of new people moving in. We have more cars moving in, so concern parking. But with development and things that come with development, you're going to have traffic. Businesses, restaurants, everything that all of us, most of us, in the inner city are here for. All those nice things. Welcome, all the people coming in these new developments want more development. Columbus, many cities in the country are reconsidering parking requirements for city development, reducing the number of requirements, not as stringent as they've been in the past. So some cities have really reduced parking. Columbus, modifying hits. So again, all those that live in this neighborhood, parking is changing, will change. With that note, I'll go into some of the projects projects are about to happen, and it's an exciting time to be in Bronzeville. Now, the one project we have, which now coming up out of the ground at Garfield and East Long Street, Ogden Apartments. Talked about that before. That's with Metropolitan Development. Metropolitan is also doing apartments at Oak and 18th, Old Town. This development at North Garfield and East Long Street, across the street adjacent to the Lincoln Theater, is named after the original name of Ogden. And the funny thing on this project is this week started to rise up out of the ground. We have concrete columns now, piers are showing. And we have approximately 70 units in that apartment complex with parking underneath. Parking will be on site. Then we have the Edna building at Australia Alley. The Edna building is approximately 1900, 1905 construction, brick building, 3 stories. Its Australia Alley is between 17th and North and 12th. The Edna building, the development is with Miles McClellan with Cecily Building Services. They just recently put up their sign, we started cleanup, started basement. And the developer previously, because things can change, previously was saying that's where the homeless land bank moving to. It has been over on Parsons. Parsons is not going to be over here, Wall Street. There's been these spaces, remaining floors, and there's been various questions on what will be in that lease space. So I believe in that lease space at the moment. We find out information. And the other development we have is flats on Gay Street. And the flats on Gay Street is at 934 East, that's between 17th and Miami. And it's a three-story project. It's apartments with parking on site at the rear of the building. And it's still under construction, but they do have their sign up, so they are leasing now. People are interested in that location. And then we go way over to the other corner of our neighborhood. We're at Taylor and Atchison by the Point East. And that is where OSU East Hospital's medical rehabilitation building proposal is located. We had a meeting like we talked about a month ago in the Baptist community, discussed their reaction to their proposal. The result of discussion in that meeting and some back and forth since, the OSU is reconsidering its proposal, working with the elements on that. The other interesting developments we have is with New City. New City is a family housing developer who's done work around the city and is now doing a good amount of work here in the Bronzeville neighborhood. They have 4 projects, 4 sites that they're developing on Northman Road between Long Street and Mount Vernon. 3 houses at construction on North 20th, again between Long Street and Mount Vernon. We have one on 18th between Long Street and Mount Vernon. And they also are closing several houses, and I'm not sure what the latest count is, on Granville at Grant. Where that area between Winter, Granville, and Mount Vernon is a very desirable location for housing. We have somebody starting a housing foundation is Friday, right in the corner of Winter and Mount Vernon. So for forever, on the finished floor, so it's now rising up out of the ground. It will also be 3 floors. It's a very nice building with a fantastic unobstructed view of downtown. And it will be very desirable. It's got parking on the site. So those are several things that are happening. Now, we have also several neighborhood churches are talking to colleges about leave it like that now, because some of these projects, developers can change in the process, but the churches are very progressing on this project. And then we also have the latitude park in town. In 1964, we were on Atchison, backside of Mount. That remains closed, and current situation on that, and more information on that, several developments that about it is vacated and closed. And then there's 2 other concerns that I'm going to bring up that are quality of life issue. Those of us who know Columbus and have gone up and down North High Street, downtown north, have noticed a big change. They go down the speed, have pedestrian crosswalks, it's very pedestrian friendly, there's a lot of street walking, people going, looking at things, going to restaurants. It's a very comfortable street with a lot of traffic. Now, the opposite situation, this Broad Street is a raceway. Even when you have a light, even when you don't think there's a car, you look and you're ready to run across the street. It's ridiculous. Anybody with a baby stroller, anybody carrying it, if you feel like you're taking life in your need the city to do some serious traffic calming. 100 years ago, 1920s, 1930s, there was a median strip down the middle with trees. Need to consider that again. Make Broad Street a street that we can cross. No reason why people in Old Town can't come over here to the Lincoln Theater without feeling they're taking their life in their hands. It really is ridiculous. And it is a raceway. You notice, Bexley, when you go on Broad Street, is 30, 35 miles an hour, and they're really controlled. When you cross Nelson Road, people open up and it's a raceway. And it really is. There's so many accidents. So city, seriously, need to reconsider this. I'm asking Old Town people, let's work on this together. I know the commission has talked about this. That really changed the personality of both of our neighborhoods. We need to come together. The other thing is 6-foot privacy fences overtake 6-foot privacy. This neighborhood never had those. They had isolated 6. For the most part, they were 3-foot high fences. Now, 6-foot high fences, the board fences, completely solid. You feel wonderful when you're inside your yard with your. Never gone down the alley walking. This is all. You know how intimidating that is? You don't feel safe. You don't know what's going to happen. Anybody comes down the alley is in front. Unfortunately, doesn't prevent that. And several people at trailers store. People's garage broken. Even with your security camera, you see somebody taking stuff that they can't identify who they are. And they still got this. Fences happens. You have a 3-foot fence. You can talk to your neighbor. You can talk to them across the. Also, you see what's going on down the block. We have on Monroe. Many of us know each other. We can see them. We can see what's going on. So I'm encouraging developers, please consider the 6. It really makes for a friendlier neighborhood if you can see your neighbor. You come home at night. Instead of hearing somebody in that next door, wow, you can. So that's pretty much the development. Quality of life. I have a question for Bob.
The 6-foot fence, is that out of the developer or is that out of the property?
In most cases now with new construction, it's static. The developers, we're asking you to talk with us, let us talk to new residents who move in. Because when they buy the house, they have neighborhoods more and more. Most days it was a chain link fence or it was a not see through. So they're not friendly and they don't.
We're saying that after your property, even the front people want them to be as far as you can. Front. And then the city has something with missions reference that ordinances that no higher than 4 feet of front. Then on the side you can have. They're saying consider it keeping that view so you have some from
Yeah, certainly in the front, we're only recommending 3 or 4. We were upset by OSU, of course, too, with their 6. I'll have to look up whether that's code or not, but anything that comes.
And the fence we're talking about with OSU, there are laws. Possible. You put up a 6-foot metal. Height is set, but again, it's when you can see into it. Please consider that. And because I have a false sense of security of this.
also empty person picture passing around object. How they come around they mention. And so again, you can see the site, and now you see it's coming out the ground. And in talking with them, they could not make this meeting, but they tried to be here in our April meeting, the 8th. And they are really excited about the project. It's well, and they've been very good neighbors so far with people out there with brooms or feet. When it gets into the long street, they're trying, they have it blocked off where they need to, but they are trying to keep dust at bay. We're glad for that kind of behavior from them. They're looking forward for the building to come out of the ground. Also, new city development, which has a courthouse in Monroe, they are also working on the church on Bronzeville. They're going to convert that into a condo building. And they, with that council, got some various the neighbors came together and spoke with their council, stating that they wanted some them to leverage their position in the development with extra lighting, sidewalks, and to do that, and the city council agreed that this is the way on the front end, and that they are going to also monitor that. Neighbors who come down to council or call them if they are not adhering to the agreed, the neighbor agreement they are going to develop. So this is nice to have city council supporting the neighbors, saying we want an agreement with the developer and what we want and expect as when the project is completed. That was nice of the residents. Historic Poindexter Village, Bronzeville, Bronzeville. So they're happy with it, and we're able to go down to the council and support them. Who was there? We had they're willing to do as much as they can, landscape, sidewalks, and lighting to make their project better and more amenable to the neighbors.
And speaking of the neighbor agreement, we also have a good neighbor agreement with Metropolitan, which all of them looking at Garfield and East Moss. So the good neighbor agreements have value, and that involves some back and forth with the association and the developers, working with area block watches and area commission. This is so.
Yes, I heard you mention the church is being converted.
Yes, an old
Which
church.
church are you?
There's a small church right there on
Right, Granville, Granville, and
Brandon. Yeah. Small church that was there, and they stopped using it. Sold it, church sold it, out and converted it.
Still, I bet you the church. Is the one that hasn't been used?
Yeah.
it's been big.
It was a Holiness Church, I think.
Yeah.
On a side street?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Grand is just south of Mount.
It's right there. So they
Granville.
it's for housing. They make it into, I think there are two, bedroom kind of. So, it is that count with their, he said, or to the, there was agreement that they hold it, and they were willing to hold them to that. Also, while we're there, the Paul A meeting, back to St. Paul A meeting, we noticed that they're having a clinic. Have a clinic at St. Paul A for those, if you don't have insurance, you have insurance, it's fine, but if you don't have an insurance and you want to, and I don't know, Mr. Clark, would you like to mention about this? It's free medical care at St. Paul A hosted by a mobile clinic every second and fourth Tuesday each month from 2 to 5 p.m. and for uninsured or underinsured patients. And so that's going to be happening at St. Paul A&B. So for all those who need medical attention, don't let having insurance, not having insurance, stop you from getting some medical care. And
It's not Carmel Street Fest program.
Carmel East, correct?
Carmel.
Carmel.
Not the East, it's the Mount Carmel Corporation.
Corporation,
Street program.
Right. So, and that's good to know. So it's showing again how our neighborhood is very valuable. Hospitals can grow and do everything, but they need people in those hospitals here. And we need all the care we can. We have this. We also have the Equitas Center, a clinic, and have dental services there as well. So we want to let people know that in Bronzeville, we now have healthcare facilities for those who are living in the area and those who live adjacent to here. That's a good thing. Yes. Address Equitas. The address is corner of Long and Hamilton. The number escapes me, but Long and Hamilton, Long Street and Hamilton Avenue. That the big building there, and Equitas is on the top.
750.
750. 750 East Long Street in Equitas, and they have dental and medical. And downstairs is a pharmacy. We have a pharmacy, we have two pharmacies now on Mount Vernon and on Long Street. And I think at one time, before my time, that my brother's place was a pharmacy before. I don't know. Long Street ever have a pharmacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a pharmacy, yeah.
Hamilton Lawn, the building.
Garfield?
Hamilton also.
Okay. 17th and Long, that's right. Right, so we're going back again, getting some of the necessary things that we have to have in the neighborhood, so people can walk to the pharmacy, pick up their medicine, they can get care. And now we have Mount Carmel coming in. That's a big step for them, and I think it's a big step for me, but more for Mount Carmel, because it shows that what we were saying in Bronzeville, right here, we have the gold, the diamonds, petroleum, everything is right here. When you have hospitals coming in and saying, we want to be there, that's a value. And now we go to where we talk about our report about OSU East. We know they renovated, put money into that. They do emergency room, renovations there, then they added on. Now they're talking about bringing Dones Hall here, and that's gonna take, we're working on the details on that, and that was, it's going to be a hospital, people are recovering from strokes and other, issues with their health. They specialize. Now is the location and also to keep the Henderson House place. So now they're looking at other sites for the hospital. And they're looking more seriously with the site that is north and is west of the clinic on Old Leonard. And they own that property right there where all the trees are. So we're thinking that that'll be a better fit. They're looking at that a little more detail. And the other thing is the parking. We had a discussion about their parking. We're saying that you're coming in the urban area, you have to stack your parking. This free, all open parking lots is not, you have to put that parking under that building or some kind of way. Because when you start taking up the land and you have that runoff, you have to have more land, to have a catch basin. So parking in this construction has to be thought through when you're coming in with a large facility like that. So they want to have it spread out, but we're saying they have to reconfigure that in a better way, not to just have all this parking that's empty at night.
And to clarify that a little bit, it's not a hospital per se, it's two hospital East. It's not going to be where a helicopter can come in, where there's an emergency vehicles pull up. It's not that kind of rehabilitative and care after the facility where you go there for things like a stroke. So it's a different kind, it's a quiet kind of place, contemplative kind of place. So it's a different kind of facility than pushing hospital East there. So keep that in mind. But still, it needs to consider all the.
And also with that, the Henderson House, they presented a drawing that had the house renowned. The neighborhood was very, that's the Henderson House at Atchison and Taylor up on that mound. That house was built in the 1870s. They're tracing it back to the 1870s and has a connection to Rutherford B. Hayes and the Henderson. And we say that house should remain. It can be made a welcome center. It can be made a history, a museum that has a lot of history in the neighborhood, with the Henderson being affluent attorney and entrepreneur. His family had that. And also the history of the Rutherford B. Hayes family and so forth. So they're looking into that. We have the city's former historic preservationist, Randy Black, been contracted to do an assessment. I think in another week, you will have an assessment as to the options of the building. From our eyes, the building looks very sound. I went in it once a couple of years ago, and it was very sound. They took off the addition, the wooden addition, they took those off. But the building seems from the outside to be very sound. He's going to go in there this week and give an assessment. We know what will happen with that. They were talking about maybe we can take it and move it somewhere. And when you do that, the house loses its historic value. So we say no, that it needs to stay in place and be repurposed some kind of way. The hospital can move around to the other side. So then people was talking about, well, maybe OSU, if we make this so difficult, then OSU will go somewhere else. Well, let me tell you, they're not going anywhere. You can't find a place that has access to an interstate like we have in Taylor and that hospital location. You know how much money Children's Hospital spent working with ODOT to have access to their hospital? So we have a gem spot there. We know we want them to come, but what we want them to do is due diligence to make a win-win with us, community, and the hospital's objectives. Other thing that we have been pushing for, I know it sounds like a broken record from the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association, is that of lighting. And I said for them to get full support from the community, before they dig a hole, we need to get pedestrian lighting in our neighborhood. But that building is going to take at least 2 years to build. Why should we remain in the dark? And I said that the pedestrian lighting, also police safety. I speak to a lot of the police officers when they're coming on runs. They don't go in some of the alleys because they can't see. Helicopters can't see through the brush during the summer. So we need to trim and put extra lighting, safety, resident safety. And when you have more pedestrian lighting, then people will be out on their people walking. They become your security, your neighbors that will be out there because you have lighting and sidewalks that don't break, you won't fall and hurt yourself. So they're considering that. And we took a lot of flack. People said, oh, well, you need the hospital. I said, well, that's fine. We do. We know they're coming. We know our value. But the issue is, why do we have to remain in the dark? I said, if the lighting is important, then let us turn off all the pedestrian lights downtown until we get ours. So we as council, I went to council twice on this. They said, we can't do that. Isn't that interesting?
Well, you said you went to council twice. That's just twice in the last few weeks.
Last few weeks.
We've gone for years, many times, talking about lighting.
That's right.
They have made some kind of promises that they.
And I say that because with any kind of development, if you want to change the human behavior, you can talk and preach all kinds of things, theory and intellectualize it. But the one thing that changes our human, first thing is change that environment. That you're going to get a response from that human. Whether that's how we operate. So by lighting the place, we're going to change the behavior and attitude in the neighborhood. So we're saying to OSU, we were told, well, that's infrastructure for the city. Well, yeah, I hear that. But you can leverage your position and funds or wherever that you can get the city to work with us and put lighting, ahead of time. I was on off of Rome Hilliard Road. They're doing a new development. There's nothing but grading the land, and they already put pedestrian lighting on the cement walkways. They haven't built one house yet. They put in pedestrian lighting, but there's no one even there yet. So why do we have to keep waiting in the dark? I said, that's over. I want lighting. I preached that, and I'm going to continue. I told them that I will be against them coming in here if we don't get lighting before they dig their foundation. Because we shouldn't do that. Because their monies come from the state, most of their monies. The same State Department, why the citizens can't get lighting before they put their foundations. And we've been duped too many times. But, wait till I get finished. Wait till I do this. You will get this. But that never happened. We're also asking for not only money for lighting, but sidewalks, and also to get a pool of money. We can help residents, seniors that need their house painted or some repairs. And they can say, oh, that's someone else's job. It's always someone else's job to do that, but they never give us anything. And say, we can go as a civic association, say, we're going to fix this house for that person, that house, that one, or let them know. We can refer them. I said, these developers that are coming here, they have to put something out on the front end. My attitude is, if they cannot do that, they need to go somewhere else. Because we know we have the values, like if they don't do it, someone else will. We have the Delphi. We had a developer that came in there he did the bait and switch on us. We got together and said, get out. It's blazing. And we said, no. We got a better project because we knew the value of that spot where the Delphi is, Long and Monroe, and right here at the top of Garfield. So you have to stick your feet in the ground and say, no, we're no longer accepting you coming here and not putting anything. You leverage your position. Come and work with the civic to say, how can we put something on the front end? My attitude, we know we have spots. And our spots are becoming more and more valuable every day. Because we have everything. You don't have this kind of layout everywhere in it. We want you here. There is something that you have to put out. And we can work with the city. That's that. And then as we go down into some old business, we're gonna get to our chair report and our minutes here. We just put the agenda here. We'll come back to that. Our old building with the Sawyer Towers. That's where we're at now with the old business, Sawyer Towers. I've been spoken to a representative of the receivership. What the city has done with that, the courts, they took it to court, and the court decided that the owners can't own the towers anymore. They have to be sold. But in order for them to be sold, they have to be assessed. So then the responsibility goes to a company, which is a receivership. They have to do an assessment of the towers. And then at that point, they can get RFPs, requests for proposals, from local and or non-local developers to develop it. But here's Plan A and Plan B that's being looked at now, and I'm going to be meeting with them on Monday again via Zoom. Again, we said from the beginning when this happened that no developer come into this neighborhood to develop that without us being front end. But they did that to us, have people from other cities managing that, and look what happened to our residents being put out on Christmas Day. That will never happen again as long as we're in God. We don't care who it is. We're going to be engaged in that development of that. So the option is to look at it, and they have to do an assessment whether it is going to be affordable to repurpose, redevelop, or is it possible that the cost of redevelopment is too much, they have to be torn down, done something else with that land? We don't know that yet, but what we're looking at is for the receivership to go in and do a thorough investigation. They will give us a report, and then we will be able to report back. And then we're also going to be at the table, Bronzeville Neighborhood Association, as those options and development come along with the leadership. And so that's a good position us to be in. And that's talking with Chief Prosecutor Steve Dunbar and Michael Stevens, Department Director of Development at the city. And they both assured us that we'll be in the mix, and they have honored their word, but they have reached out to us, and we're having discussion about the tower. But we are very happy to be in that position. We've laid out, we went to council on that again. There's no developer will come here do that without our involvement. Because we do, now people put out, and that's awful. Now the city has to deal with all of that stuff as they find housing. That's beyond us at this organization. Yes.
What is the stability of the tower? Is it not habitable, or is it in good condition?
What happened, it was built in 1964, and when they were in there doing something, they released a lot of the asbestos. So whether they tear it down or rehab it, it has to be cleaned of asbestos, which is not a cheap job. Second, the elevators, 4 elevators, 2 on each side, they already figured that will cost about $2 to $3 million to replace them. Then you talk about the plumbing, the electrical, all is from the 1964. So all that would have, the building would have to be done. Structurally, physically, the building is in good shape so far. They're going to do some more detail. It's not going to fall over, topple over. I mean, they overbuilt back in those. But it's the mechanics of the building that's the issue. So the question is, what is the cost of doing it one way or the other? And we will find that out. They have next week, the end of next week, to get back with us on that. Now, the other issue we have with that situation, with Plan B, if they say they want to tear it down and rebuild, oh, this neighborhood was duped with that, with urban renewal. They tore down all those buildings on North Mount Vernon, and it lay vacant for 10 years. That will not happen again. So if you're gonna be torn down, you better have that money in the bank and everything ready to, when they finish tearing it down, to do the building, you're digging a foundation, a new building, will not sit. Because of that, it ran people out of here, the economy shifted, it was an awful scene for 10 years. Only when Carter came in, dedicated the building. But that was what changed, that would have saved, devastating. But sitting there, you can stand on Mount Vernon and look north and see Milo Grove. And the famous line that Pastor Pinckney used to tell us, that he played in shadows, bulldozers. That kind of gives you a visualization of how much was going on, and not he himself, but people played that term, and there was so much bulldozing. And Lowen did all the work. He made over $10 million he received back then. That was a lot of money back in those days. Get out all the buildings that were there and say, we're going to make it better than 10 years. That's how history, knowing the history of your neighborhood, can protect you of the same thing happening. And that's what I made reference to the person I spoke to with that, because they were not aware of that history. So the first thing is tear it down and rebuild. Yeah, well, let me see how you're going to do that. We've already been duped once before. Not happening. That's all in the process. And talk about lighting, and now I have was there questions pertaining to the powers? Yes, Ms. Perkins.
Some of these meetings that you have, would we be alerted about them?
Yeah, I had a Zoom meeting on Saturday, and I have another Zoom one on Monday with the company. And when they come to their assessment, then we'll have a general subject. Or make reference to that. So maybe something in the next week or two when they get their final assessment of the bill. Yeah, the community will be informed and come and ask questions on how they want to handle it. Right now, they're under the direction of the courts to do this assessment. But we are privy because we're on the front end. We went down there defending our position. That's why we get information first.
Some of the families is paid and already been moved into. Some of the churches in the area are still feeding people who are in the committee that was working with the meals as sure how long it's going to be. But they think that it will be for.
Just to give you an idea of the size of that building, it was designed in '64 with 400 single apartments. 400. It's a massive structure. 2 buildings. Yeah, so 400. So there's a lot of, the city has a task on their hand. That's that. And we have to keep an eye on it.
With the owner tax, with them fighting the court issue, what kind of influence will Bronzeville have?
Well, here's what happened. They were telling, before they went into court, they were telling the court, well, we want to keep the building, we're going to do right now, we messed up, we're going to do better. Well, the environmental court Judge Mingo said, no, that's not an option for you. Because now the city is running on find them $4 million they have to pay. What did the company do? Prior to the judgment, they were saying they're the good guy, they're going to be better. The minute that the judgment was filed, they filed bankruptcy. Can you tell me that true? So now their bank now on them for their money, because that was they were borrowing money from the bank. Now, that we don't know how that's gonna work out, but where our position is that we get kept informed of what's going on, and when they get start an RFP, and we have some input what that RFP is and what we expect from the. We have a voice at the table.
And to explain how the RFP works, that's where you put in what the program is, what the building will be, what its services are, housing, commercial retail, various aspects like that. And we work to have the RFP for what is the Adelphi on Long Street. There's been numerous projects in the neighborhood over the years in the Bronzeville neighborhoods. Also, with the Unitary Commission in many cases, have been at the table to help determine the RFP. As a result, when a project is then released, first there's an RFP, then the city puts out a general statement, looking for developers to do this project. Projects that you were interested in. They go and they see what the RFP is, which gives the explanation of what the project has to, has to entail. Oh, okay, we're interested in doing it. That's where, on the very front end, before anybody puts a shovel in the ground, projects are already determined. And that's why it's so critical that we got our foot in the door like we, because being with the RFP, then we can say, okay, this residential, a certain number of people in there previously, need either that number or a certain percentage to match that. So that's why we're in a good position.
I know. Actually,
well, there are several different kinds of developers doing several different projects. In the new city are market rate. That is a single family home, which is in most cases the most expensive per foot. And so developers to be able to make money, build a single family home, they need. Okay, that's some of that is fine. That's not the only development. We have by Shiloh, which has a percentage of those units which are for people vouchers. Anything in Alton, all these major developments. Now, the city is asking them, requesting, telling them, you need to include a percentage for that help. And but also need to leave the door open so we can get people in here who have more income to play with, another kind of development. So we're saying we want all kinds of.
One of the announcements I have is Poindexter. There's a fundraiser they're having on April 29th, and from 3 to 6 at the King Arts Complex. They're having a function to raise funds for the Poindexter Village Museum. So that's coming April 29th from 3 to 6 at the King Arts Complex. And raise funds, the activity there, showing off the history and what is going to be in the museum, and want people to come and your fees and will be part of their fundraising activity. Raise money to support the museum as it evolves and soon to be open. That's look at that. And they are working. Peter Smith is still much involved in that, and a good thing. And Mrs. Jameson from the Second Baptist Church is very much involved and it's coming forward. So they're just trying to generate additional funds to put it in a better position. Okay, so we have. That means that we will have our secretary to go over the minutes, where we can kind of just recap here.
Okay, so it's for the last week we had, we went over the development. So, but the leadership, she other thing that Bethany, yeah, yeah.
Mentioned the children's choir that's coming from.
Oh, the Ugandan
Uganda.
children's choir, we had brought them to Columbus before. We're bringing them this year. They're children from an orphanage in Uganda. And incidentally, there's a group of children going from the Afrocentric school in April. Uganda. I cannot hear you there.
4 p.m.
What's the time for the choir?
4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock
8:13.
at Bethany.
Bethany Presbyterian Church, children, George Garfield.
At
It's
4 o'clock.
Bethany Church.
All right, any other questions?
Did I miss the report on Ogden?
Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning, but again, the Ogden and North Garfield and East Long Street rising up out of the ground out there, and do the homework for the columns. And so you can actually see it. Yes. And this is Metropolitan.
Yep.
Metropolitan was going to have a representative here today to speak with us. Hopefully they'll come next month. Metropolitan has been very amenable to our interests and concerns. The whole process to get to this point, so they're anxious to communicate with us in the community. So they'll be here.
And the pictures are showing the site preparation now, so out of the ground, that's what they have more next month, yeah. And what we are saying with that building also, we also supplied them with a lot of the history of the neighborhood. You will have portraits of Mr. Jackson, who helped do a lot of the development. And they would, a picture of Scarborough will be in that structure. Also a picture of Ogden himself. We also provided them with copies of the newspaper where Scarborough was elected mayor, so that when people come in there, they can see the history of the area, all that. They're working on how they're going to put that like in the lobby, on the outside, inside. They were going to do some stuff at the Braxis art, and I don't know how that's working. But if they don't get that squared away, then our stuff will be put out there to represent the community history inside that building. And we don't know how far, we don't know what their Braxis art that he had on that building, or that location building, located there. But if that doesn't work out, then those people that I just mentioned will be not inside the building, portraits or something, and also information from the your newspaper. And that's 1930. That's really something. See that paper where people can see that this neighborhood elected a mayor, and the city mayor Gesselman, welcomed them, gave them keys to the city. It was a big thing that happened. Also, there was discussion, OSU and the health center, where the old library was. They're discussing that, and there will be a meeting coming pertaining to that, talking about what go in that building, how it should be oriented. Building Walker is part of that discussion, and how they are going to put some additional funds. They're going to be starting on that very soon. So it's just a matter of fine tuning the program. One of the big things that they said, instead of waiting until the building is complete, they wanted to start programming now. There was a meeting that we discussed that, and they're working out different types of programming that you can engage the community now with health, with exercise, and all kinds of things. Want to go in there. They're not going to wait until the building is finished. Start some of those activities, programming.
That's in the Woodland neighborhood, but we're also excited about the project.
Have they named, who owns that building?
OSU. OSU
OSU owns the
building.
old library.
Right, and they brought it to make it a wellness center where they're gonna have, I guess, cooking, they're gonna say how to eat healthy, how to exercise, there'll be discussions, classes, and all that kind of. Yeah. Houses on the historic registry. One of the buildings that put on the historic registry.
I think it's the house on Monroe.
It's what Vincent Walters used to have a music academy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that his home is now
Yeah.
being placed on the National Historic Registry.
That's
Right.
225 North Monroe,
225 North
between
Monroe.
Spring and Mount Mark.
Right.
So yes, they've been working in that for several years with younger and it's a very interesting house. It's just around the corner from where we have our meeting. And it's going to be a lengthy project to do that, but to have that located like that and put on that list is significant. And hopefully that will be just one of several.
And she worked hard and long with the landmarks to get that on the registry. Long, tedious process. 25 North Monroe. We're proud of that. Give up.
And that house is one of several on North Monroe. They've got several music houses on the street. They taught music lessons, piano and whatnot, but that one has particular significance and interest.
having and supporting her friend who just, her husband and son is surgery, they're from the hospital. She's been supportive of them, but she says no matter how busy she is, came gracious with her presence, and that all the running around, our budget is still sound, right? Yes, okay. That will change, start getting ready for the jazz. A lot of expenses. And our secretary would also bugging me, and we went back and forth. Now we have our secretary help you, that we want to start having dues. We can generate our funds and keep us going. So they're gonna work out a process and a program to inform you when they get it together of what our dues will be and how we will pay them. So yes, we will have that forthcoming. These two are gonna make it happen. So I want to thank you. All right. Any other questions or concerns? Yes.
As some of you may know, there was a play at Med Lab concerning the lady who wrote the play, that it was based on the history of Bronzeville. So I was unable to go to the play because it was sold out. So did anyone here go? Okay, so I'm trying to get in touch with her, and I just wondered, I do get in touch with the director, I get in touch with him because he teaches at Whitehall, and that's all. So I wanted to know if you're having about it, if I can get in touch.
Well, speaking about it, it's nice of the performance of you.
Well, that's what I mean, if they can come, and then we can ask them to do that.
Right,
And
exactly.
maybe do that as a fundraiser for Bronzeville.
Right.
So let's try to do.
Perfect, you have a task.
I'll do that.
All right, well, thank you. Right.
Not major, but definitely major. It was only for one whole weekend.
Yeah, well, everything. Okay, well, that'd be nice. We can get them come and perform. You may contact me.
Get them to come and speak to us first, maybe.
And we have any number of venues that could come and play.
That's Paul's, Noseville.
So we will do that.
No.
All right.
No,
Any other
SNW.
questions or concerns?
Noseville.
Thank you.
Say
We're going to get a
Bronzeville.
motion to have the meeting adjourned. A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.